Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming solar eclipse, which is a very powerful new moon on October 23rd at 5:57 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 2:57 p.m. West Coast time in the US, which is also LA time. Now, this powerful solar eclipse is going to be in 0 degrees of Scorpio, and this is a new beginning of a new moon cycle, but it's also a new beginning of a new eclipse cycle. Now, eclipses happen every 5.5 to 6 months. And so, a new eclipse cycle means that this eclipse is a new beginning that lasts until the next eclipse becomes exact, which will be in the spring. Now, solar eclipses are powerful consciousness upgrades, like I've mentioned in my last video already. And the manifestation of these eclipses happens, or the unfolding of that happens within the 5.5 months to 6 months after the eclipse becomes exact. So, this is, of course, a great time for us to set powerful intentions, because these intentions will last for the next 6 months. And I will talk about that in more detail and the best times for doing that at the end of this video. Now, first, we want to talk a little bit about eclipses and about this particular eclipse in Scorpio. Now, when the sun and the moon come together with the moon nodes, that's when you experience an eclipse. They align, the sun, the moon, and the earth align perfectly so that there is an eclipse. Now, we already had a lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago. This is now a solar eclipse where the sun is being hidden. And this particular eclipse is connected to the moon's north node, which is in Libra right now. So it's already moved into the next sign. So this eclipse is actually the last eclipse in Scorpio, and the first one was in November of 2012. So this eclipse, the eclipses usually move with the moon nodes, and so there are several eclipses in the same sign that can happen for a couple of years, and then the eclipses move into a new sign, right? So with this eclipse, this is the last eclipse in Scorpio that started in 2012, but the eclipses have like a 19-year cycle or a 9.5-year cycle, right? So 19 years ago, there was an eclipse in 0 degrees of Scorpio, in 0 degrees of Scorpio with the North Node, with the connection to the North Node, and that was on October 24th, 1995. So you can think back to that date and see what occurred for you around that time. Were there any endings or beginnings at that time for you? You know, what did you learn around that time? What was going on for you at that time in your life, and where did you need to move to the next level, and where maybe do you need to move to the next level now in your experience, right? So there's definitely new possibilities that open up with eclipses, new pathways. We learn something new. We're having an upgrade. We're moving to the next level, right? So the next time we experience an eclipse in Scorpio will actually not be until 2022. So these are really long phases, right? So with this last eclipse in Scorpio that we're now experiencing, sort of like completing something that was started in 2012, we're definitely seeing how can we connect to that Scorpio energy in a deeper way, and how can we complete, the exploration of that energy, right? So for those of us who have personal planets or points within 5 degrees of the eclipse, will feel these shifts and changes more dramatically than other people. But for all of us, we will experience that in some area of our lives, or in astrology is what we call the houses, right? So wherever the eclipse falls, in whichever house it falls, that area of your life will experience a shift, and there will be a sort of like a new level of consciousness that will be created in that area of your life. Now let's talk a little bit about the Scorpio energy and what's been going on for us with these eclipses in Scorpio. Now, there are 3 planets in Scorpio with this eclipse: Venus, Sun, and Moon. And so that's very powerful, because we're connecting to our heart space more fully with this eclipse, with Venus being a part of that. And this is also a very powerful reminder for us to really face our fears and embrace our shadow phases, our shadow, and to reclaim our inner power. Now, the shadow parts of ourselves are usually qualities that have been suppressed or denied or not developed because of our upbringing, or because of society, or because of some experience that we've had early on in our lives. So, shadow parts, when they're not properly integrated, they disempower us, and they make us vulnerable to manipulation or domination from the outside world, so from the outside in. So, that's definitely a disempowering component that we experience through not owning our shadow, or not owning certain qualities about ourselves. Now, whatever we reject in ourselves, unfortunately, is also something that either owns us, or we're projecting it onto other people. And this is also what can happen with societies, right? Things that a whole society doesn't own for ourselves gets projected out onto other societies, or other countries, or other cultures. And then other people hold that shadow for us as a society. But this also happens on an individual level. So whatever we disown owns us, or disempowers us in a sense, right? So we really want to ask ourselves, like, what qualities have we disowned, or suppressed, or rejected about ourselves for whatever reason? I mean, we probably have very good reasons why we did what we did, but not looking at the reasons, just to look at what have we not fully integrated in ourselves. Now, we have an opportunity here with this eclipse being the last in Scorpio, and in 0 degrees as well. We have the opportunity to really release some of these old patterns and beliefs, and shift our attention from the head to the heart. And we're getting the message here that we do have the choice to move from a fearful place to a more place of love and acceptance and openness, right? And since Scorpio is all about transformation, we're being invited to do just that, to go deeper into our own psyches, and to become more authentic and more passionate about all of who we are, and to embrace all of these parts of ourselves, and to become more conscious, become more conscious about all the different facets that maybe we think are not us, right? So if there's something about you where you go, oh, that's not me, that's them, or this is not who I am, or this is not who I would like to be, that's just other people, then this is something to pay attention to, because that's usually a sign that there is a shadow there that you haven't integrated. And when you see something about other people that you don't like, that's usually a shadow part of yourself that you haven't integrated. And very often the things that we don't like are things that are being mirrored back to us in an extreme way, where the volume is maybe set a little bit too high. And so when we're experiencing it, it's almost like, when you turn on the music too loud, and you're like, it's too loud, like you can't take it in. But if you look at these shadow parts, and you turn the volume down a little bit, and you look at what would that quality be if it wasn't turned up so high, if it wasn't turned up to such an extreme, what would be the middle tone, or the healthy volume setting of this quality be? What would that be? And how can I own that within me, right? Now, the truth is that anything that we're not conscious of, anything that we can't see about ourselves, we also can't change. And this is why it owns us, because without being conscious of a certain quality of ourselves, we can't change how we interact with that quality, or what we do with that quality about ourselves. So it's also a matter of power of choice, because when we don't know something about ourselves or we have rejected it, we have no choice over it. We have no say over what's happening with that quality. And very often, that's why it feels disempowering to us, because it owns us, or it's something that we only get experience through the projection that we put onto other people. Now, when something remains in the shadows or unconscious, it's sort of like what I would call the autopilot. It operates on an autopilot. We're not aware of it, but it's still there. It's still there somewhere. It's just that we're not really owning it consciously. So the question would be, how can we bring 5% more awareness to the rejected parts of our psyche? And how can we embrace all of who we are? Basically, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So it's like really all of the colors of the rainbow, whether you like them or not, you know, they're still there. It's still part of all of us, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, we all have a side that's not pretty, and we all have a side that's really gorgeous and really beautiful. So whatever we don't want to own, it's still there. Now, of course, it takes a lot of courage to explore our shadow parts and to face our fears and our demons. There's no doubt about that. But when we can really take a step towards that place, into that direction of embracing these shadow parts, we become more whole each time. We feel more empowered each time that we do that. And we're more likely to make a difference in the world at large when we're able to embrace and incorporate all these shadow parts of ourselves. So it serves not just us, but it serves all of life. It serves all of society for each of us to do that work. And yes, it's not always pretty work and easy work, but it's valuable work, and it's work that in the end we do get so much out of doing that kind of work. Now, I mentioned Venus earlier on as far as being a part of this eclipse, and Venus is conjunct with the moon and the sun in 0 degrees of Scorpio. So she's really highlighting for us with this solar eclipse the power of love, how it's important to be authentic and truthful, and feel comfortable in our divine feminine, in that place of the heart. And so the less we're able to withhold from other people, and the more we can be emotionally authentic with ourselves and with others, the more we can experience a very deep, meaningful intimacy with others and with life too. So the question you can ask yourself, is there anything that you're running away from when it comes to relationships or when it comes to intimacy? What defenses does your heart have? And what keeps you imprisoned because you have these defenses, because you're shutting down your heart for some reason, for one reason or another, probably because there was something painful that happened in regards to relationships in the past, right? And then the last question you can ask yourself, whom or what do we need to forgive or let go of? What would it look like if we could transform all past pain and suffering into love? And so these are some questions we can sit with and meditate on during the time of the eclipse, because they're very powerful questions where we can really get more connected to the heart, and maybe create more of a heart opening by sitting with these questions. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to have an answer for these questions, but we at least need to explore, how is that connected to us, in what way, shape, or form, right? Now, Mercury, which is also part of this eclipse, is actually stationing at the time of the eclipse and is ending its retrograde phase a couple of days after the eclipse becomes exact. Now, whenever there is a planet stations, Mercury being the planet of communication, that brings sort of a heightened component to that energy. So anything to do with communication and sharing and teaching and listening and taking in and processing information is heightened during the time of the eclipse. And because it's also aligning with the North Node in Libra at the time of the eclipse, it's almost like the soul wants to bring us a message during that time. And the message is all about the importance of listening and the importance of speaking authentically from the heart and being in alignment with the things that we're thinking and that we're saying, so that we're not actually having a separation between our thoughts and our speech, and that it becomes an authentic tool or an authentic vehicle for us. So this is the message of the Mercury station. Now Neptune is the last planet that I'm going to mention, is in Pisces and makes a trine to the eclipse and to Venus as well in Scorpio. And so this brings a really beautiful gentleness and universal love to our exploration of the shadow parts of ourselves, and helps us to feel a little bit more forgiving and a little bit more compassionate. And it also facilitates more of an ease of letting go of the old and embracing all of our humanity, all of these human parts of ourselves that maybe we feel not so comfortable with, right? So what's really important with this eclipse is to just allow ourselves to really embrace all of who we are, to allow for the new templates to download, to stay centered and grounded until November 6th, when the next full moon happens in 2 weeks after the solar eclipse, because that's when the downloads will be completed. What's really helpful during that time is to remain really flexible, to allow yourself to become the observer of your emotional and mental body, to not jump at things, but to really kind of see if you can just observe without judgment, and observe with from a place of love and compassion, and to remember that also, this is not going to last forever, that, this is just a consciousness upgrade that we're going through right now, and that when that is completed by November 6th, we're all going to be in a better place. Kind of what I was mentioning already during my last video when I talked about the lunar eclipse, right? Now ask yourself with this eclipse, what old traumas are calling out to be healed? This is your last chance to really heal these traumas with this last eclipse in Scorpio. We're really getting a chance now to complete this healing process. And also ask yourself, what are some things that keep you small, that keep you from moving to the next level, that keep you from feeling fully empowered? And bring a lot of love and heart, like an opening heart space to those things in your life as best as you can. And see if you can maybe let some of these things go for good. Now, the degrees, if you have personal planets or personal points in 0 to 5 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, or Leo, and also 28 and 29 degrees of Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn, then you are certainly going to feel this eclipse very strongly. If you are confused by those degrees and signs, then feel free to watch my video about how to read a birth chart, either on YouTube or on my website. You can find that there, and that will give you a better understanding on how to read these degrees and these particular signs for yourself, and see how that's related to you. Now, all of us, of course, will feel it somewhere in the chart. All of us will have it somewhere in a house or in an area of our lives where it will hit. So there is definitely an upgrade that's happening for all of us. So pay attention to what that might be. And let's talk a little bit about the intention setting, because there's powerful intentions that we can set for the next 6 months right now. With a solar eclipse, it's very important to remember to not set your intentions right away, to wait 48 hours after the eclipse to set your intentions, because the energy is so intense during the time of the eclipses that we need to first of all, cool down a little bit and cool down our mind and our emotional body to be able to really plant these seeds that we want to be planting for the next 6 months. So wait 48 hours, and always make sure, as always, not to set intentions during the moon void, of course, phases. So this time around, the best time will be October 26th 12:40 a.m. in the morning, New York time, which is very early in the morning, until October 27th at 12:18 p.m. New York time, which is in the afternoon. And so basically all day Sunday on the 26th and the first half of the day on Monday the 27th New York time. Now, if you don't live in New York, in the New York time zone, if you're not on the East Coast in the US, you're somewhere else, then please feel either free to plug in the New York time zones into a time zone converter, which you can find on the internet if you Google that. Or you can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/SonjaFrancis, or on my Facebook fan page, which is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis. And I will, at the time when it's the best time to set these intentions, I will tweet and Facebook to make sure that you know exactly now is the moment to set your intentions. So then that way you just have to stay in touch with me on the social media, and then that way you will know when it's happening as well. Okay? Now, one last announcement I'd love to make, which is about my Soul Journey weekend. This is the last time I will talk about it. There is a deadline to sign up for this weekend, which will be October 31st. So after October 31st, no one is going to be able to be submitted for the weekend any longer, because I do have to do preparations for the weekend. And therefore, there is a very strict deadline, which is October 31st. So if you've been dabbling with the idea of joining us, this is going to be on November 8th and 9th, 1 hour outside of Boston. We will be looking at your soul journey in this lifetime and soul purpose in this lifetime with the tool of astrology. There's no prior astrology knowledge required in order to take part in this course. It's going to be very powerful. It's going to be transformative. It's going to be very spiritual as well. We will be incorporating meditation and yoga as well in this weekend for those of you who'd like to do that. You don't have to, but that will be part of it as well, if that's something that resonates with you. So if you do want to sign up, please feel free to do that before October 31st. On my website, I have a page that's dedicated to this weekend seminar. It's called Weekend Courses. You just click on that page on my website at AstrologerCoach.com, and you will have all the details that you want to read about, and testimonials from our last weekend, and all the wonderful things that you need to know to make that happen for yourself. And also feel free to reach out to me or my assistant Anna for any kind of information that you need. In addition, you can email us at info@astrologercoach.com. That's info@astrologercoach.com. All right. If you need a reading for the eclipse, or if you need a reading just in general for your life, for what's going on in your life, then feel free to reach out also via my website and go to the services page. Readings are always available, and right now they're actually still available at a very reasonable price, which will go up when the new website will be coming up, which will probably be after the eclipses. All right, so have a fantastic solar eclipse. Remain as grounded as possible, and avoid doing anything brand new. If you can wait until after the eclipse season is over, that would be best. If something happens organically, that's okay, but do not force anything. Do not force yourself to make plans right now, or to do anything brand new that you haven't done before, because there's a lot of information that you don't have yet that you will receive with this consciousness upgrade. All right, so have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.